Just
We're driving this ship of Get Valiant number 142. We are talking about books again. Guys, what is up? It's good to see your faces again.
It's so weird to we're talking books finally. This, you were gone. We had a week off. You were gone, so we had a couple weeks off, I think, and then we had Dinesh on, which was crazy, and then we had Robert on, which was crazy. Now we're finally back to like a normal episode. I don't know that we have a whole bunch of news other than just getting to talk about, go a little bit into. We never really got to decompress and debrief after the Dinesh interview because we went straight into that Robert interview. So yeah, I don't know. What were your guys' takeaways from talking to Dinesh?
I thought it was one of those things where I wish we would have pushed the initiative to do it a lot earlier. Because I think for Eric and I, we do this. This is such a low-rent podcast on our end. Eric has to do all the tech work. I do nothing. And I think sometimes we just don't ever try. And so it's a shame that we never tried to get Dinesh on when he was still active with Valiant. But it was great. It's always great talking with him. He's a blast to talk with. And it was cool, man. It's cool to finally have him on. Just because even though he's not a part of Valiant anymore, he's a big part of the history. He's still got a lot of information to give. So he's definitely worth listening.
Dinesh is fun interview, man. He's a fun guy to talk to in general because he's so cryptic. He gives you so much information, but it's so cryptic. Just like when he said, it was just so awesome because it was like such good inside information. I wish you guys were there off camera when he was telling us that. It was really cool.
That was a purposeful omission of no audio.
Oh, what do you mean? My mic went out when I was talking about.
I hope so.
Oh, something must have cut out at that point.
No, I will say, during that Dinesh interview, there was some technical difficulties, so we were down for a little bit in the middle of it. And during that time, we got to talk to him, quite a bit. We chatted with him before we went on, then in that little middle intermission, unintentional intermission, and then after we were done, and I was actually trying to okay, guys, my devices are dying, I gotta go, and he's like, okay, but let me show you one more thing. Let me show you guys. So I think that when he has an opportunity to show some stuff, he wants to, but obviously he still didn't show us everything. There are only a few things that he can show us, and he showed everything that he could on the episode. And yeah, I think it was really cool to have that opportunity to chat with him, and I think that he let some stuff slip. I mean, he was trying to for a little while be coy and say Bad Idea wasn't a comic book company, but then he was clearly talking about them making these comics, and then he went back and said, "No, just shirt. I got a cover for a
dig
shirt."
how genuine he is, because he is just like a 5-year-old kid that wants to take you to his toy box and show you his new toys. It's just, I love that about him. He's super pumped up about it, and then the exclusive image he gave us of him showing the Miko Suyon metal cover from Bloodshot Salvation and how that was used within the makeup department of Bloodshot just gets me excited for the movie too. So he's got a good way of pulling on those little heartstrings to make you pumped up for it. So
yeah, I know from the press side of things, I'm looking forward to continuing the conversation with him about Bad Idea once that hits, just because a lot of people in the industry, it's just really hard to get information out of them. Dinesh is the exact opposite. He loves to share information. I've interviewed Dinesh, I think, 3 times now. And there's always just a ton of stuff that, it doesn't make it to either the interview section that he just says, after, he likes to share stuff, If he was still with Valiant, I mean, we would know so much about next year ahead of time, just because he loves to tell people everything.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, it was cool.
No, you're totally right.
And then just hearing his, one of our guys who comes on every once in a while, our Brian's story about how he wasn't let into the screening because he was considered stalking Dinesh at Sony. He's got good, fun stories like that, and I dig it. So, but watch that video, guys. Let's not spoil it all for you. There's part 1 and part 2 due to the technical difficulties. I mean, we talked to Dinesh for over an hour. Got some fun stuff about Bad Idea, some stuff about when he was with Valiant, and then, of course, Bloodshot, Gideon Falls, Final Fantasy, Hive Mind. So check that video out. I'll try to. I think I put a link in the description below. So if you haven't watched it, watch those.
Yeah, it's episode 140, in case anybody wants to look that up. And then, of course, 141 was talking to Robert Myers. Um, like, they were both really fun interviews, but they were very different interviews. And I don't necessarily mean that in a good or bad way, but yeah, I feel like, I don't know about you guys, but I did feel a little bit of pressure as a Valiant fan, like to make sure that we tried to get some answers that a lot of people have been looking for. And I think that my biggest takeaway was that it's not. Oh, I don't know. I feel like a lot of us, to some degree, myself included, feel like we don't have the same level of communication from Valiant that we had when Dinesh was there. But Robert went out of his way to rearrange his schedule so that he could come on the podcast, and he answered basically every single one of our questions. Now, did we all get exactly the answers that we wanted? No, but that's life. But he took the time. He never told us don't ask these questions or we can't talk about those things. So it was extremely open. It was extremely transparent, and as much as I don't know. Like I said, not every single answer was exactly what I was looking for or what anybody was looking for, because everybody has different preferences. But at the end of the day, I think it was awesome that current Valiant took the time to do that. I think that it shows that while the company may not be exactly the same, a lot of the core of what a lot of us love about the company is still intact, just maybe
That communication
slightly different.
is improving too.
Yeah.
I want to put that out, and that big thanks to Greg for that, getting us set up with those interviews with communication. And then again, another exclusive image that they let us have with the podcast, which is extremely awesome that they would let us show that. And I don't think they've given some hints recently of EXO, so that's really cool too. So.
Yeah, like it's great that we even rank high enough to get exclusive images. I think that's one of the cool things to me about all this is even though we might not get the answers we want, it's for us it's still a huge privilege to have a guy like Robert Myers, who's the senior editorial director with Valiant, on the show. And it makes me feel like if we can get guys like Dinesh and him on, we can maybe try to work and get just about anybody on who's like in comics now. I feel like those are two big people to have on the episodes. And I know that some people were like, well, Robert didn't give a lot of answers. I just think that sometimes they have to be a little cautious about how much information they give out there with some of the books. We're still a small podcast, and I know that there's people like, IGN or CBR, there's a lot of bigger sites that want that same spoiler. They want that same exclusive content. We do the best we can for, the amount of people we have. And we got a lot of people now than we did just a couple months ago. Our subscriber counts doubled, and Facebook page is getting a little crazy too. So, who knows? At some point, maybe we do start ranking a little higher to start breaking out a lot more exclusive information. We'll take it as we can get it,
right.
Hey, I will say, man, I don't know, maybe we dropped the ball a little bit, but I feel like not a lot of people realize that Robert dropped the fact that Exo Manowar is coming in March on this show. That's not really information that's been out there. Everybody's been asking, and he specifically told us that Exo Manowar is coming in March. And now Valiant is on their Facebook page, counting down to an Exo announcement. And I feel like they're counting down to the announcement that Exo is coming in March. And maybe I'm wrong. Obviously, I don't really know what they're counting down to, but that seems like what it is. And, I think it's cool that we kind of had that opportunity to put that information out there for the fans.
Yeah, and yet again, it just shows that we're so influential, So, hey, world, you're welcome on that one.
But you know what? There was some cryptic things he gave. I looked up the trademark things, and I saw that Dead in 21 for Valiant, and that's something that's potential coming that he kind of definitely validated that's going to be something. Savage coming soon type of thing. So there was some things that he actually let go. If you look through a little bit of it, it's kind of cool to note there. And so yeah, I think I kind of dug some of the things that were there, and I would take it. And
Yeah. Yeah, I know. Like when we were done, the three of us had a conversation off air, and I'd expressed that I thought the interview went really well. I do think that if you listen to the interview, there's a lot of information there. So if you guys get the chance after you listen to that Dinesh interview, go back and listen to that Robert Myers one because I do think there's some gems in there, and I definitely think that he was informative, not as much as we would like him to be, but I do think there was some.
and I'll go on that. I mean, one thing that he talked about was the PSI-Lords coming to an end in book 8, and kind of one of the things that we're going to do today is cover a whole crap ton of books, and PSI-Lords number 7 is one of them. You guys want to jump into that?
Let's do that.
Yeah. Yeah, we can jump into that. So everybody knows we are going to go into spoilers. We're going to be talking about PSI-Lords number 7. We're going to be talking about Rye, both issues numbers 1 and 2, and we're also going to be talking about Doctor Mirage issue number 5. So as we get into these, hopefully you guys have read them. I know some of these books that we're going to be talking about, like Rye number 1, been out for quite a while, but just finally getting the opportunity to review these books. So we're playing a bit of catch up, but yeah. So like you said, Robert let us know that PSI-Lords is going to be done at 8. To be honest with you guys, I was pretty unhappy about that for 2 reasons. One, he was saying nobody prepays for the pre-order covers, and I prepaid through DCBS. Now, I think that I'll get my money back, but that is a bit frustrating to have prepaid for 12 issues, hoping and expecting 12 issues, and now be told we're getting 8.
Let me jump in on that, too. DCBS is not doing the pre-order edition for Dr. Tomorrow that had been solicited. So they may be... This is going to be the first month they're stopping it. They've had it all the previous times, and this is the first month. And this is one of the times where they had 12 issues pre-ordered, and then they're having to stop early. They might just be kind of frustrated with it and said, we're not going to do that anymore because of the way their business model is.
Yeah, because you have to credit those issues, and I mean, I get credit. I used to get credited all the time with DCBS. So I don't think, to me, it's like if you're mad about like that kind of thing, I get it, but like their business model.
I believe they'll fix that. But what was the other part, Eric?
So the other thing is just it felt like there wasn't going to be a way to end at issue 8 that felt like it has felt from the beginning like this is going to need to be 12 issues for us to really get something solid out of it. However, as much as there's nothing that can be done about the first issue that I had, reading issue 7 really made me feel like issue 8 could be a reasonable ending point. And obviously I hope that the book comes back and doesn't totally end, but I think after reading number 7, I can see how 8 could be a decent spot to take a break. Step away from the title.
Real quick, I want to step in before we get too much into the interview. There's Valiant sent out Bloodshot's first trade. Okay, the new Tim Seeley and Brett Booth trade paperback. And I've got a copy to give away. So in the chat, if you're listening, if you're watching, let us know what you're thankful for this year, just so I know that you're here. And we'll see your name in there. We'll put all the names in a hat, or we'll do something like that, and we'll pick a winner at the end of the episode. So
definitely do that. Yeah. Maybe more than one item to take.
Maybe more than one item. We're giving valiantly, or valiantly giving. Yeah. What's the hashtag?
Giving valiantly.
Yeah, I was trying to use that today when I posted on Twitter. Nice. And we might do this again next week also, just before the holidays.
Yeah, giving some stuff away.
Eric's got some really rare Bloodshot variants he wants to give away. So you never see them on eBay, so stick here next week.
That's it. Golds and medals.
You can't have these. I'm sorry.
He's got that Hitch variant that everybody wants. Oh,
I got it right here.
Yep.
And that's as close as you're going to get to it, I think.
All kidding aside, we'll do some fun giveaways, though.
I do think it's awesome they sent that Bloodshot number 1 or Bloodshot Volume 1 trade. The trade looks amazing. There's so much process stuff in the back. Tons of awesome content. Anyway, so PSI-Lords number 7. Art was phenomenal. I love the fact that both Exo Manowar and Brigadier General Capshaw showed up. I want to say Colonel Capshaw, but she didn't let Exo call her that, so I better not either. But I thought it was amazing that they showed up. I thought they were really well written. I loved that Capshaw was just getting drunk for the end of the world. I thought that was really well written. It was cool to kind of see her let her hair down a little bit, so to speak, because she's such a um, controlled character. You know what I mean? She's always very much in control of herself and her surroundings. So it was kind of interesting to see her let her hair down a little bit, and then the story itself was just crazy, like I have come to expect from this book, and I thought it was really, really solid.
It's hard to say, like, man, I mean, like, the story is just so bizarre to me still, and it kind of still doesn't make a little bit of sense to me, but I like looking at the book. I can tell you that right now. Like, even with it knowing it's going to end, I know that I've had problems picking up on what's going on with the book. I still enjoy looking at it at the very least and reading through it. Um, I love Raven Rock, and so I do hope that this book isn't gone forever. His design, or its design, I mean, I don't even know, what they're going with it, but he just looks so rad. He's got such a cool design, especially by Renato, who's just doing some awesome work. I think the way that he switched his art up, or maybe just the coloring of his art, I think it really works. I like it better. I've said that every time we talk about the book. But it was great to see EXO in this, like they were saying, and I don't know, it's a decent issue, I'm like reading it, I thought, like, we're finally gonna get the payoff of what this series is going to be. So we've got one more issue to wait for that. But this was all right. It was all right.
That entrance of EXO was a little interesting. Kind of basically like not even you could solve this right now, Arik, and just kind of where she went with that kind of made me question, like, again, wanting to know more why of these Psy-Lords were put there instead of EXO, right? Why not have your EXO Man-O-War go up there and take care of it, who's a little bit more seasoned than these guys. I think the one thing with Renato's art I still can't get past is the mannerisms of the characters. I feel like they're very pictured and they're just repetitive. But it still looks good. Like, if you look at each image for what it is, they're great. It's just when it's the consecutive, the you know what I mean? It's a little hard when you're seeing that when it looks like Tank has the same mannerisms from page 5 to page 10, and it's kind of that same look, and so that is difficult to kind of get past. And I hope that's something that can be fixed down the road, because I love Renato's art. It looks great. I love his Divinity Zero. I thought that was a fantastic art run that he did there with that book, or that one shot he did there. Yeah, it's kind of interesting to see how it's going to save the day. And like Josh said, Raven Rock is awesome. And what's going to happen? How's this going to close out in the last issue? And what's this going to do with the further, Valiant world? I know this was initially slated to be an ongoing 12 to start, and it's stopping at 8. I know the sales didn't work too well. I don't know. It's one of those things where I wonder where we asked Robert last week what they've learned in this last year. And maybe it's the ongoing of a brand new character line, of a brand new title to the new revamped Valiant may not work, and maybe you need to stick to the tent poles. I don't know. But ultimately, a good-looking book outside of the mannerisms, and I want to see how it closes out.
I think you might have a good point there. Look at the difference between Psy-Lords and Killers, right? Like, Psy-Lords is only tangentially related to the Valiant universe, kind of like Killers is. Psy-Lords characters are absolutely brand new. We had seen the Killers characters before, but didn't really know anything about them, other than a little bit of Ninja G we had gotten. That was the most. But we had this 5-issue mini-series that left us screaming for more when it comes to Killers, versus being told we're getting 12 issues from Psy-Lords, picking up the first few issues and going, what the hell is even going on? And I love a good mystery book, and I'm not knocking Psy-Lords for the type of book that it is. I think it's very well executed for what it is. However, is this a way to introduce something like that in the Valiant universe when you know that you've got a relatively small fan base to begin with, yeah, maybe it doesn't work. And that's unfortunate because I think that it is a really good story, and I think that if more people picked it up, they would really enjoy it. Um, I do think it was a really good looking book. And like I said, this issue kind of put to rest my fears that ending at 8 would feel like it just truncated a third of the story. So I feel like we're going to get a full story by the time we're done with 8. So this issue I thought was really good. I'm going to give it a 4 out of 5. I do think that it's really strong, and I definitely think that this is a book worth reading.
I'm going to go a little lower. I'm going to go 3.5. I mean, I do think this was a pretty decent issue. It was great seeing Exo and Capshaw in this. And Renato Gadestraw is a good Exo Man-O-War. Just saying. You know,
Yes.
maybe he might be a great fill-in down the road with that new series that might be coming out. What was that?
Put this creative team on an XO book, even like a one-shot.
You know, I agree with that too because I think Fred hasn't had a shot really at writing Exo Man-O-War. So, and for the most part, I know like with some of the fans out there, they don't like everything that he's worked on with Valiant. I have been a fan of just about everything that he's worked on with Valiant, and I always look at books like Archer and Armstrong, which is a great book from the history. So I think, why not, give him a shot at it at some point if he wants to do it. But I know they have a team pulled up, and they're probably going to do some good work too.
Right. And I think Todd's doing some great points on the chat when he's talking about how much real estate was used to develop these characters, these brand new characters. And seeing that it's 8, it is kind of interesting. I feel like the curtain should have been revealed a little bit earlier, a little bit sooner for the reader, maybe not for the characters. I felt like that pushed a little bit, put some people away that didn't want to, continue waiting for the curtain to be revealed of what's going on with the story.
Yeah, I mean, think about if they would have gotten. They could have cut out a lot of it, but if you would have gotten from, say, 3 issues in, and this was where we were at, who knows how it would be received? It does
Right.
feel like it took a lot
even
of
a
time
page
to
at the end of every issue with Capshaw getting more and more blitzed over the seeing what's coming their way would have been kind of fun. You know what I mean? Like you would have seen that impact of what this story really means to the universe a little bit more. Just have her just taking it out, taking a drink, seeing the story that's coming, even though the characters don't know what's going on. I would have enjoyed that because you would have seen, what cards are on the table for this. I am going to be sitting there at like a 3.25 in this. I think we're getting a little too late as far as information about this story. And I just kind of can't put in this thing that's going to take out the world is just now getting your biggest superhero involved. And it's basically to have a drink and go tell your people you're going to die. That kind of stinks. So.
I think it's well handled, but we'll have to see what issue 8 gives us. And that's really going to be the test, right? Like, if issue 8 falls flat and doesn't answer questions and leaves us still not really knowing enough about what's going on and what these characters can do and where they could go, that's going to be disappointing. So we'll have to see what issue 8 gives us.
And I think Todd, again, puts another great point. PSI-Lords probably going to read better as a trade going all the way through, and I completely agree with that. I think I met a guy who's just now going to read it all, and I'm interested to see what he says as he's going to read through them all at once. He hasn't read PSI-Lords 1 or anything. So I'm interested to see what somebody does with that with fresh eyes and have all of it up front. So not have to wait a month for each thing to be revealed.
I think it was when issue 1 came out, I was already saying it was going to be a better trade. Because, you definitely could tell right from the beginning that there was going to be a slow burn of a book. And, that might not be the best way to bring in new characters. Todd was kind of saying, look at the 2012 Exo and Bloodshot. Those jumped in with some crazy action and really high-intensity stories. And then we got more character development and background story as it went on. But anyway,
I was going to say one thing real quick about that is that the original series of the PSI-Lords only lasted 12 issues. And those books aren't regarded as like a great piece of literature either.
But they had Valiant Vision.
But, yeah, they had Valiant Vision. But I mean, I've reread those issues recently. I mean, and to me, I'm just like, I bought them because I bought everything Valiant, but they're not great, you know. But it could be the case of something that just doesn't work, or maybe it's something that still needs to be retooled to make it work. We'll have to see.
Yeah. Yeah. But we have at least three other books that we're going to talk about, right?
Yeah,
Are we
we
going to jump
do.
into
Yeah, let's
Doctor
do.
The close of Doctor
Mirage.
Mirage's ending. Mags Visaggio and Nick Robles and Jordi Belair, right, doing the colors, continues to be like the all star.
I believe so.
Are the colors again? I dig Jordi's work. I don't think there's many books that she's done that I don't appreciate her color work.
I agree with that. I think Eric and I have talked about this before. We like it when Jordy has colored Juan Jose Reap.
Yeah.
That tends to be a stronger colors for his work.
Although we're going to talk about it in a little bit, I do appreciate what's going on. Dollhouse is doing right now. So
Yeah.
Yeah. So for this book, yeah, I mean, we've got the psychedelic, crazy color panels that were really muted. There was actually one panel, and I think it was just Grace in this one panel that had this kind of muted, gritty tone to the colors, and it actually really reminded me of what the Valiant looked like, and that was an amazing moment for me. Just, I doubt that was any kind of intentional, but I was a little bit nostalgic to go back to how awesome the Valiant was. But anyway, I still kind of have some questions about everything that went on in this book. There was some stuff that I just don't feel was perfectly explained, and maybe that's just a matter of me not being that huge of a Doctor Mirage fan that I wasn't picking up on everything. I think that's an entirely reasonable potential explanation. But having said that, I do feel like this was a really strong ending, and I remember saying a while ago that it's frustrating that every time we get a Dr. Mirage story, it's all about her just fighting to bring her husband back to life. And I feel like this issue, and as a result, this arc, gave us that what I've been waiting for, which is Dr. Mirage finally being ready to move on. And I think that opens up a lot of potential doors for the character. And if we're going to have this creative team, hopefully, or at least Mags, continue working on this character, I think that there's a lot of potential there.
Yeah. It's hard for me to get a review of this. I read this on my phone earlier, and I was having a hell of a time doing that and putting a child to sleep. But I liked what I saw of this. I generally I like just about everything that uses Dr. Mirage. There's a couple things with this that definitely require me to have a second read of it, because I was just having a hard time kind of picking up on a couple things. One thing that is kind of confusing to me a little bit is just how the story kind of jumps back 6 months, 8 months, 3 weeks, 6 weeks, things like that, at a weird pace to me with this issue, especially. So some of that stuff I was trying in my head to piece together like in a more straightforward setting, but I just couldn't do it at the time. But one thing that Eric said I wanted to talk about too is just that I love the fact that it does seem like there's finally going to be some closure between Sean and Gwen, where maybe these books aren't going to just be about her pining for her husband to come back and find a way to do it, and she's not just talking to him the whole time that no one else can see him. Also, it does sound like she will be back. They kind of teased that a little bit at the very end. And Grace, like the end scene with her at the hospital, I thought was kind of cool. It was very brief, but I just thought this was really well done for what I could pick up on. I couldn't give this one as high of a score as I've done before, because I think with all the other issues I've done like 4.5, things like that, and I won't go quite that high when we do our scores, but it's only because I just had a hard time reading it in the situation that I was in, because I try to read all this stuff. It's weird how sometimes you don't have 10 minutes to dedicate to reading a book. Like the way your day works out, you can't get to it sometimes. So that's my bad, but I still enjoyed it quite a bit. And I think the series as a whole has been really good. I would probably rank this one second to the first Doctor Mirage mini. I do think it was better than the second one.
So yeah, I don't know. I guess I have mixed emotions about this book. just kind of the where it's at within the dead side still. It was kind of a weird play that it seemed like, I just question what's real and what's not still, even after what was given.
Yeah.
It just seems like there was lots of artistic liberties given there, and that's kind of, yeah, especially with the what's the villain's name now? The Embalmer. And, I think it is kind of cool that the Embalmer actually took over Gracie's body, which is kind of, embalming her body with himself. I thought that was kind of a cool play. The end of it with the Embalmer kind of exploding the hospital, spoiler alert, and then just Doctor Mirage coming soon. That's pretty interesting. And then just really trying to get some more of this story connected with Gracie is still kind of didn't really. I mean, Han kind of, it was kind of discussed within with Doctor Mirage. Robles's art was good. I appreciated it. There was a couple panels here and there that looked made like they may have been a little rushed, but for the most part, it was a good looking book all the way around. The covers looked phenomenal on this series that the ones I'm recalling, and it closed out. I think I'm gonna be. Did we guys already score it up? Oh, okay.
No.
Sorry. Well, I'm gonna be. I think when it comes around this whole series, I'm gonna be. I guess it wasn't my cup of tea, lack of better term. This book wasn't made for me. Let's put it that way. And so I'm going to be like at a 3.5 for this series. I liked what Jen Van Meter did with her first run, the first book of Doctor Mirage, and so this one's kind of like you said up there with the second one. It's like neck and neck for me.
So to me, like, this issue made the series for me. But I know I haven't been scoring this series very high and it's exactly what you just said, Hoosier. This book is not for me. And that's totally fine. I read and buy and support Valiant because I love the universe. But I do understand, and this is something Neil Robert talked about in our interview with him, was that, if they can get one or two books on the shelf for each type of fan in a month, then they're doing pretty well, especially with only 6 books on the shelf. So they know that they're not marketing all 6 books they're putting out in a month to the same group of people. And I think it would be really, really, really dumb if they did try to market all of their books to the same exact group of people, because it's putting all your eggs in one basket, and we all know that's a bad idea. So anyway, books not necessarily for me, but I do think that there were a lot of strong points. Because this book really made the series for me, I'm going to go a little bit higher than I might otherwise, and I'm going to give it a 3.75. I think it's really solid. I think it definitely is a book that someone who's into this kind of story would really love, and so it's definitely something that if I know somebody and they, and they're talking about, looking for comics or things to read, and I know that they're into, this type of story, this is absolutely something I would recommend. I just know it's not for my bloodshot loving, John Wick fan type guy. That's just not what this book is.
So, I dug the shit out of this, but just because of my own difficulties with the issue, I'm only going to go a 4 on this one. I still really liked it. Nick Robles's art is awesome. I love what his panel work looks like within this issue. I just think he does something a little more creative than the average artist. Colors are great. Mag's the awesome script. And now that the series is closed out, I've always just been so excited that Magdalene Visaggio finally got to do a Valiant book, because I've been a fan of her work for so long. But yeah, this one's a 4 for me. The series overall is it's so hard to grade. I'd probably go at least a 4.25. This was awesome. It marketed towards me.
What other book would you guys like to see Nick Robles do? What book do you think would pair well with him?
Oh man, I think something that's not so superhero-y, just something a little bit more off the beaten path. Maybe I think looking at this book, I think something that's a little bit more Dead Side related would be great, like Shadow Man. I bet he'd do a great Shadow Man.
See, I was actually going to say, because I feel like he's got this kinetic like really you can feel the panels moving on the page, and to me that would be perfect for like a Ninjak book. So that's the first thing that jumps to my mind.
Oh, I
What
didn't
about
really
you,
have an
Hoosier?
answer. I just wanted to see what you guys are doing.
Well, we didn't have answers either.
Fine, Betamax
You know,
it is.
bad eggs. Let's see him do that. So,
Yeah.
Trinity Angels relaunch.
oh,
I think that we would do. Oh, Todd
That
said
could work.
Punk Mambo.
yeah,
That would probably work.
I would
yeah,
dig that
a
too.
jaunty. That's what I want to see him do. Jaunty.
You know what? He could make a jaunty
Yeah.
book look amazing, especially if you put Jordan on colors again and have him just be like, "Do what you did here, but just take it to 11." You know? And yeah, I think that they could do something ridiculous. Oh, now I want to see that book.
Yep.
Oh,
I would like
man.
to see him do something in the far
Yeah,
away too. I
so-
think like with his work, he could do something pretty cool in the far away.
Oh, sure. Like
Maybe
Savage,
Savage
something?
or maybe even
Yeah.
an Archer and Armstrong.
I was just gonna say Archer and Armstrong. Get him on that delinquent story in the far away.
Yeah,
that would
and
be
that's-
amazing. But Elliot Ray Hall, I think we got a stew cooking here, guys. You put a little far away, little Nick Robles and some Elliot Ray Hall in there. You
Yeah.
got a stew going, baby. I don't know if you guys get the Arrested Development reference, but anybody out there that watches Arrested Development is just gonna love that joke that I just made. If not,
There you go. I'll give yourself a pat on the back for that one. Yes.
Yeah.
Nope. Got to do it. Nobody else is gonna do
If
it.
it was a community joke, we'll be going great.
I'm just a co-host. I don't do those things.
Oh man. No.
Don't get paid now.
Yeah.
So we got 2 books left, but we can kind of slam through them back to back. Rye, both issues number 1 and 2. Now, Josh and I were both under the distinct impression that we had already reviewed Rye issue number 1, but Hoosier, the one who's actually prepared and knows what's going on,
And
was
weed's
able to
legal
inform
in
us
my
that,
state and not
in
your
fact, we
state. I
have
don't
not.
get it. So I would have figured you guys were stoned, but I mean, I guess I don't smoke pot, so I guess it makes a difference. Good.
Neither do I.
This is a wholesome show here, guys. Dude, yeah, number 1. I know we didn't talk about it because I didn't gush over it. I loved this freaking book, dude. I love Reap's art, dude. His art is amazing. And I like the tones that were used with Dollhouse and Dan Abnett, dude. Like, I'm glad he's on this. I'm glad, I guess they already got issue number 7 done. Like their script's further, but that's one thing Robert said is that issue number 7 with Rip has already been completed. At least the inks or the pencils have, which is awesome.
Yeah. I'm glad that they're working ahead. And it is such a great book. It's turning out to be so awesome. That first issue, I want to make sure we focus on that one, and then after we score it, then we can get into the second one. But that first issue, like, it was such a great introduction. We got some amazing banter between Rai and Raijin. I really like the dynamic between the two of them. There's some questions that need to be answered, but don't seem like they're going to be answered anytime soon. There's a little bit of tension between them, and they feel like brothers. The scene where Rai is outside just decimating basically an entire army while Raijin is inside eating and like chatting with the guy behind the counter, like that was such a great moment. The guy's like, "You're not going to eat me, are you?" And he's like, "Well, you're not an offspring, are you?" Because that was such a great moment. I really, really enjoyed the book. The art, I think, man, I remember there was a time, and Josh may remember this, back when we first started the podcast, there was a time when I was kind of down on Juan Jose Reap's art. And I remember Josh being like, "No, man, he's great. Everything he does is awesome." And I was always on the fence, and I don't know. And then we got his 2 issues on Wrath of the Eternal Warrior. And I remember that was what really turned me around on his art. And ever since then, I've just been a huge fan of everything he does. and this is no exception. It's so solid, and Dollhouse is a great colorist. So yeah, it's turning out amazing.
Yeah, I mean, like, not even going into the art, which I could go into for so long. I love how this book looks, and we talked about how I mentioned how I like Jordy doing his colors, or Jordy doing colors on Reef's art, but that's not the takeaway from what Andrew Dahlhaus did on this book. The colors are great on this. Very vibrant, good color palette used on this. There's a lot of just bright blue skies and just it's just a very it's a very pleasing book to look at visually. But story wise, I'm glad that this happened. Fallen World was something that we all enjoyed a lot. It seemed like even the community really enjoyed the issues of that book. Also, Valiant does tend to sometimes sit on a book instead of just getting it out there. Like when they have a book that's going to carry a character, it might be 6 months, it might be 8 months, it might be a year. We don't know when we see some of those characters again. It was great that they decided to put Rye out, just so that we continue the story. I think a lot of the action scenes are really memorable within this, and the scene like Eric was saying, where well, just all of it. I mean, that big battle royal between Rye and everyone that's coming to fight him, while Raijin is just chatting away. It just really worked to me. I thought it was just really well done. I love the dialogue. I love the personalities of the characters, because it does feel like they are two different beings. They have actual personalities. And there's not a lot of the bad guy in the background, giggling or anything like that. I mean, we know that Father is out there, but he doesn't take up a whole bunch of space within this. I thought this was just about as close to a perfect issue as we could really get. I mean,
Dude,
it is just great.
I really dig it. I mean, I've heard a lot of people talk about it, that it reminds them of a Lone Wolf and Cub story, mixed with some Pinocchios, kind of where I'm going with, because they want to be real people, right? And I dig it, the combination of it. I like how Raijin kicks some ass in the beginning of the book, too, when he kind of figures out that he can actually fight. Yeah. And just seeing that they were designed for two different reasons, too. They're not for the same purpose. And then... yeah, and just you're probably gonna kill me when you're done. Why can't I live? Just you want to be human, and it's just kind of the character development of these guys is already in this one issue was fantastic. Just more so building off of Fallen World, right? I dug that all the way around, and like we were saying, Dollhouse's art, when the bright tone is great, going back to what you were saying with Britannia, Jordy did great when it was that dark tone of Britannia. Loved it. But get back on this. It's cool. Rye, I like the new character development that started since Fallen World with Dan Abnett on this. And then I'll get into talk about it. Kind of, do you guys want to score them up separate, number 1, number 2, or do you want to...
Yeah, I think I'd like to score this one, and then we'll move on to 2. And yeah, I feel like this was a really strong book. One thing I will say, as much as, if you read Fallen World, you clearly see that this is directly following Fallen World. This is obviously a direct sequel to that. But having said that, I think you could also come into this book as a new reader and really enjoy it and feel like you have a solid grasp on what's going on. This is not a PSI-Lords where you're going to be 6 issues, 7 issues in and still going, I don't know. I mean, it was pretty cool, though. But this is very much a different book than that. I think the visuals are there. The writing is there. For me, I'm struggling a little bit, waffling back and forth between what my score is going to be. Definitely at least a 4.25, maybe a 4.5 on this first issue for me.
I went really high on this when I wrote my review at Outright Geekery, and I was looking at my score on there, and I gave it a 4.75. So that's what I'm going to go with. This is an awesome first issue of the series, and Valiant's done Rye very well. As I feel like they haven't dropped the ball with him at all, except that we just haven't gotten a story every month since 2012. But that's the only problem here. Okay, they do Rye good. So yeah, great first issue. I mean, I feel like if this doesn't get you pumped for the series,
read
as
number
a whole,
2.
Then I don't know what to tell you.
If this doesn't get you pumped up, read number 2. Yeah.
That's what always works. If you don't like the first issue, just get the second issue and give that a shot.
I mean, because typically some stories can do that. Josh, I agree. 4.75. I dug it. This world looks awesome. I want to see what's going on because I mean we've really seen the Grove downstairs below Japan, New Japan, which is now on the ground.
You're growing downstairs.
Downstairs, we hit the earth. So I want to see what's going on in the world now.
That's not what it sounded like.
So see what's going on.
Well, I'm glad somebody's growing downstairs.
Hey, the world is growing.
Keep your mind out
yeah.
of the gutter, Eric. Jeez, it's a
Hey,
family program.
Talking about growing downstairs. It was not my fault.
That's
That's
what
how much
she
he likes
said.
the books.
Oh, I can tell. So issue 2, not a whole lot else to say on the art, and I don't mean that in a bad way. I just mean that it's so consistent, right? Like issue 1, art was phenomenal. The lines were there, the colors were there, and really added a lot to the book. And here we are in issue 2, and it's the exact same level of quality on the art. And I feel like the writing on this, like, if you would have given me 100 guesses on where it could go in this next issue, I never, ever would have come up with anything like what this issue is. And I absolutely loved it. Like, I thought that the concept for this issue, the Smart House, was absolutely amazing. And it was so well executed. I honestly, like, I loved the first issue. Like I said, it's at least a 4.25. I really did enjoy it. But this second issue has me so sold. And even if you were joking before saying, like, if you didn't like the first one, read the second issue,
No,
that's actually so true here. Because even if that first issue didn't 100% grab you, this second issue, oh my God, it's so good. It's so good.
So good.
So good.
Yeah. Okay, so like I think that the term I used I wrote a review of this one too because they sent us the PDF so long ago. I think I used the term model house of horrors because it's basically like a weird setting. You know, like they're in the wasteland, and then all of a sudden there's just this one little patch of nicely kept grass and a nice well maintained house, and inside it's so nice and clean. It doesn't look like it's been ravaged by, you know, how many years of just like weird warfare and post-apocalypticness that, you know, the future has brought. And, you know, like, I think there's a little bit of it's almost like Rye is on his own little quest to find like father's Horcrux of sorts, you know. But I still felt like this issue was just so original in what we got, because like Eric was saying, like, would you really expect this? Like, you wouldn't expect that anywhere on Earth, I don't think, you know. As far as I am assuming, there's no, like, weird enclave of just well-maintained houses or neighborhoods with, like, rich people living in them or anything like that, you know, or just anybody who's, like, just kind of made it through all the mess. So, like, seeing that, like, when I got to that page where you see that house, I just thought, what the hell is this book? You know, like, this is really weird. And it had a really eerie feeling to it a little bit, I thought, too. I thought Dan Abnett did a really great job on the writing on this, kind of instilling, at least for my enjoyment of it, like, I felt that mood kind of change of, like, it's not just like some post-apocalyptic or futuristic adventure story, but all of a sudden there's something a little bit more dark, a little more sinister involved here. So I thought this was a really well done issue. Again, the art is just amazing. But this was a really cool story. I would go maybe a little bit lower on it than I did the first issue, just because I think I'm so hyped for the first issue. But it's also because a lot of times when you score these books, it's like, do you score on the high side or the low side? So I was like, I'll go a little on the low side, which maybe I shouldn't have. This issue is just as good as the first one. But also, and maybe you guys felt this too, sorry to go so long on this, but it kind of felt like a nice done-in-one story, I thought, where it almost just seemed like its own little issue. There's nothing else we're waiting for. And I think even the first issue felt like that a little bit too, where we established what the timeline is and what the characters are. There's still a little bit more of that personality that pops up with both the characters, where Rye wants to be more human, and his older little brother wants to kind of understand all that kind of stuff. This book's awesome. I really hope people like this, you know, and for people who have thought that maybe these books have drifted away from what Dinesh and Company have made prior in the past, I think this is that book that gets you like amped again for Valiant.
And I'm glad you mentioned that about how the done in one kind of feel what I'm really getting the vibe with this story, with number 1, number 2, and kind of what I thought with them trying to go after each thing that they're looking for right now in this book, is the kind of vibe of a 90s video game that you're going, each issue is going through like a level. And we did level 1 in the beginning, and now we're on level 2, and we're going to face the bad bosses at the end of each level type of thing, with the ultimate goal to face the big bad at the end. It really just gives me that awesome vibe of like an old 90s game, and I love it. It's like Double Dragon all over again, kind of running through the gauntlet. And like you guys have mentioned it, the story was surprising, with these house bots, whatever you want to call them, real estate bots that will not let you leave the house until you buy it, stay there, live in it. And it explains why you have this immaculate looking house out of nowhere. I dug it. All the way around. Story, well written. You're still getting some great character out of Rai. And then not to mention Rai in his dream. How cool was that piece, guys? His dream sequence where he is going back.
Yeah.
And what his character looked like in that issue as well, which was super cool. Where she is, and I don't know. I might be getting 1 and number 2 confused on which one that was, but how he looked a little different there. He didn't have the big rising sun on his star on his chest like he did, kind of bloodshot looking. How it kind of defines and characterizes him a little different now. I dug it all the way around. So dig in me some Rai 1 and 2. Art great, colors great, story phenomenal.
So I gave number 1 like a 4.25, maybe a 4.5. For me, this is a solid 4.75. Like, absolutely, this is a damn near perfect book. Like, this to me is what I hope comics are going to be when I pick them up and read them. This is the kind of stuff that I want to make sure that I'm spending my money on when I'm buying a comic book. This is what makes me glad to be a Valiant fan. Todd saying that this is the closest in the last couple of years that feels like that 2012 to 2014 era, which I think a lot of us look at as kind of the golden age of current Valiant. And I think that one of the reasons that we get that feel is this is a great book that you could pick up one issue, even if it's in the middle of an arc, and still really enjoy it, or you can read the entire universe, know the ins and outs of every Rai and Rai-related issue published, and still really enjoy this as an addition to that mythology that's already been established. So I think it's doing a really good job of, staying on that fence, riding that line, and that's not an easy thing to do. Obviously, Abnett is a great writer to be able to pull this off the way that he is, and the fact that he's got Reap and Dollhouse on art just makes it come across that much better. The execution is phenomenal. Yeah, like I said, 4.75.
Yeah, so I think my score is just a hair low. It's about a 4.5. But again, like I was like, I could always score high. I think I always score on the side of being higher. But just a great issue. I mean, I just love this issue. And one thing I wanted to comment about on this issue, and a lot of the books have been doing this lately, is at the end of these issues, we're getting a bit of a glimpse into the year, like what's going to happen this year in Rai, what's going to happen this year in Roku, and things like that, and I think that's been a really nice touch. It gives you a little bit of excitement about some of the things that are going to happen. So it does look like at some point we're going to see Galad again, at least in the future version of him, which is awesome.
Yeah.
But that's one of those things where I know people sometimes, the argument in comics is like recap pages at the beginning, but for me it's like I love these pages that are kind of giving us a glimpse into what's going to happen next month or 6 months from now. So cool stuff.
I'm gonna, Josh says he kind of goes on the high side. I typically score a little bit on the low side myself, but I am gonna be at a 4.75 with this one. I dug it again. I liked this book. It was fun. And rock and roll, yeah. I can't wait to see the next one. I know what the covers show on the covers. I think the C covers has a really cool Valiant character that's coming back, and so I'm pumped up for that. And so be pumped up for Ride number 3 and see what's on the next level of this. I'm gonna call it like a video game freaking saga that's gonna be rocking and rolling. So, yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So what do
Great
we
book.
have? What's coming out next week?
Let me see. Next week's show, we are going to have Bloodshot 3 and 4, Roku 2 and 3, and Visitor number 1. But I believe the new books are Visitor number 1, Bloodshot 4, and Roku 3. So we got a big show next week, just before Christmas. And the Visitor, guys, that thing is a good looking book.
So just a real quick note, letting us know that you're here, commenting on the live chat, being involved is going to get you entered into, winning the giveaway. As Josh has said, he is going to be giving away a copy of the Tim Seeley Bloodshot Volume 1, which does include that Bloodshot number 3 that we're going to be talking about next week. But yeah, I am so pumped for Visitor number 1. The visuals that we've seen for that book so far look amazing. And Bloodshot has been awesome. I've loved issues 1 through 3, and I can't wait to see where issue number 4 goes based on where 3 ends. Obviously, we're going to get into those spoilers next week, but and then Roku's been really solid as well. I honestly, that first issue left me a little bit on the fence, but having read issue number 2 and getting excited for number 3, I really think that we've got a strong book on our hands here, and that's really exciting. We've seen that expansion of the Ninjak side of the Valiant universe, and having Killers be such a hit, and knowing that Roku is shaping up to be a really solid book as well, gives me a lot of hope for what we could hope to see from Ninjak in 2020.
Yeah, and also next week, we should have a little bit more information about what's going to happen with Exo Manowar. There's a countdown going on right now. I think we're on day, 5 days down or 6 days away. So by the time we come back on the air next week, right before the holidays, we should have a little bit more information for you guys about what's going to happen with that book.
Unless it's exactly what we've already talked about, and it was just the fact that it's coming out in March, which Robert already told us.
But we might get some more glimpses into the art. There might be some articles that kind of share some information. And if we get that kind of stuff, we're going to share it with
I think we'll get a synopsis and maybe a little interview with Hopeless, with Dennis, and see what we could get from there. And right now,
it might be more than just a guy wearing...
Right now we got the chat going. Please let us know you're here. We need to know your name so you can get in Josh's ugly Bears hat, and he can put your name down, and we can draw it, and kind of go from there.
Hey, it's pretty ugly.
The uniforms I had on a couple weeks ago was hideous, so, yeah.
Yeah. But it's a hat. I had to put my Utah Utes hat away after they
spoil it.
Really shit the bed in the Rose Bowl.
Spoiled it.
Sport. Did you guys see the game?
It was almost as bad as watching the Vikings play. It was really bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, because everybody wants to watch Minnesota professional sports.
Oh, they have some. That's right.
Outside of hockey, pretty much no one wants to watch NFL.
Even their hockey team left Minnesota. They went to Dallas, and then they finally got one back. But
and they're not even that wild. Come on.
Yeah.
Please.
It happens.
What a weird conversation.
Right? Well, we're just letting everybody get their chat in there, getting everything rocking, man. But yeah, it's good.
Todd, yes, we do drink a lot in Minnesota because our teams all suck. That's one of the reasons.
And it's balls cold all year round.
Yeah, Minnesota's not great for
At least you're close to Wisconsin, so you can get some good cheese.
Oh, that's a good question. Hey, I want to answer this question. Connection to the World just asked us: Is it more difficult than normal to enjoy other superhero trailers like Wonder Woman because we're so excited for Bloodshot? And my knee-jerk reaction to that is to say no. But here's the thing: I haven't even watched.
It's like Stranger Things,
and that's crazy.
It looks like Stranger Things. Huh? It's all like they're in the mall doing Stranger Things. Yeah.
Wonder Woman?
Yeah, I know, I would say it looks great, and I think Gal Gadot is a great casting choice for Wonder Woman. But there's some weird stuff going on in that obviously you're not going to know, why this is, the trailer, but, Chris Pine's character, why is he still around?
Oh, God, I hope he's John Jones. I hope he's Martian Manhunter. That would be the only way it makes sense, and I would fall in love with that.
I think he's to be his own grandson is the issue.
Is
but
he? Maybe he's Benjamin
regard-
Button.
Benjamin Button.
Yeah. No. The answer to the question though is that for me, yeah, I mean it's hard for me to focus on like I thought the Black Widow trailer was cool. I saw that, but it's hard for me to be as excited about it when all I really want is just to see that Bloodshot movie. As soon as the Bloodshot movie comes out, I'll be in full force supporting every other, because I definitely want to see Wonder Woman. I love Gal Gadot in that movie, in the first one, and I definitely want to see where it goes. And like I said, Black Widow, the trailer looked awesome. I'm sure that movie's going to be really enjoyable. But yeah, for me right now, I'm just ready to see Bloodshot.
Speaking of the Black Widow trailer, who's the guy who just played Hellboy in the movies?
Oh, Stranger Things, whatever his name is. Yeah, Hopper.
Yeah, what's his name?
Harbour. Yeah,
David Harbour.
David Harbour. Okay, so David Harbour, and maybe you guys will not get this. Okay, David Harbour as Red Guardian. That is a fucking terrible casting choice, and here's why. The people at Amazon should just go throw a shit ton of money at that dude and be like, hey, have you ever read The Boys? You should be Red Guardian from The Boys.
Yes.
That's all I'm going to say. His face,
Yes.
He's perfect. There's really not much you can say about the character on this podcast. He's got a weakness.
It's so
awesome.
wrong, but so right. I love it. Oh, that is great.
But his mannerisms as like a Russian superhero. To me, I'm like, I don't like that take on Red Guardian, but man, he'd be awesome as Love Sausage.
Yes.
That would work perfectly.
All right. I
And
think
Taskmaster-
The Hero-gasm season should totally do that.
so
Also
have we
read The Boys.
still long enough? Is it time to give away that book?
Yep, it's time.
Boom!
Okay,
Little Bloodshot one. Wait,
the
can we
names
give
are
some
going in
love
the
to
hats.
Valiant? I'm glad they sent us out some stuff.
Yep. A big thanks to Valiant. Big thanks to Greg for always helping us out with these
And
campaigns.
you may win again if you come
Absolutely.
next week. Just putting that out there.
Okay.
This is going to be the first time Sean Hayes doesn't win.
Sean Hayes. No. You weren't even here. How'd you win? No, the winner, and I don't know your name, but in the chat, your name is Scorcher. So Scorcher, you won the
Boom.
Bloodshot trade.
Hey.
So yeah, so if you can get a hold of me, you can either bug one of us on Facebook and send us your information. Also, if you want, you can just email us, getvaliant@gmail.com, and just send me your mail info, and I'll get that out. It's still packaged. Once I opened it up, saw what it was, I just taped it back up, and it's ready to get mailed.
Right.
So, congrats, thank you.
Right.
Oh, Scorcher's Nick
Yes.
Muffenbarger. That's amazing.
Oh,
Nick has been on
whoa!
Heck yeah.
How did I not
Dude,
remember?
and
that he was-
Josh,
Oh.
do me a favor
Well,
and pull the one more name out of the hat. Kind of a surprise gift here going on right
Okay.
now for my collection. I figured I'd throw this out there.
Surprise gift.
Come on.
So
Man.
I'm really hoping that this is Scott Bloom. He hangs out with us all the time and
You know?
supports like crazy. So I'm hoping that Scott Bloom wins.
Not like we love them all. We love you all. We love you, Scott.
I just don't pick, so I can say whatever I want. And
Yeah, it's
not
all
gonna
Josh's
be
hat.
right.
I mean,
Yeah, and you also get the smelly tiger paper for my hat. The winner is
Todd Lewis.
Todd Lewis.
Todd, here is the collection of Doctor Mirage, the first series, signed by good old Jen Van Meter. That is the death-defying
Yeah.
Doctor Mirage. And then we got Second Lives. Also a signed trade with Jen. Also signed into this one as well. So get a hold of me, Todd. You got my stuff. And get that out to you, man. So, yeah. And tune in next week, too. We should get some more things for you guys down the road. Share this, like it, give us thumbs up, share it around, please. And we're at 136 subs. Let's get to that 200 mark, and maybe we can get some more stuff and get some more special guests and some more special episodes as that comes around. So
Yeah, when we hit 100 subscribers, Valiant gave away a $100 omnibus on this show. So let's see when we get to 200 what we can get him to give away.
$50 bill.
No.
$50.
Hopefully, Bloodshot Carbon. That would be great.
Well, by the time we would get 200 followers, I mean, we're at 136 as of this moment. I mean, that's probably ways off, but if you know Valiant fans who would be interested in listening to three guys like us who are awesome,
or if you got 5 Gmail accounts, just sub to us on all of them. Just saying, we love you guys. We're trying to get the word out.
But maybe just like try to find 5 people.
Yes, we'd rather have 5 people separate. Come on, but
we want eyeballs, not email accounts. So
free Bloodshot tickets. Yeah, that would be great, William. Mine might dependent if you could come to Seattle. So, yeah.
Yeah. I can't come across the East Coast to you, William.
Yes, Connection the World said the kids are going to subscribe. Yes, they are. Let's teach them well. Hopefully they're okay with swear words because Eric's got a potty mouth.
That's true. I say shit a lot.
Oh, man. What was the one? I went to Kevin Smith in Jay and Silent Bob Reboot Road Tour where Kevin Smith and Jay Muse were there. And they were talking about George Carlin because he's dead, but he was in the first one. And I just remember a George Carlin joke where he goes, one of the greatest things you could use is the English language is fuck the fucking fuckers. I mean, you get everything with one word. It's beautiful. So I love George. So
yeah, I was a big fan too.
Great show, great movie. If you guys haven't watched Jay and Silent Bob Reboot, it's the same movie but a little different, and all the fun and dick jokes and fart jokes and butthole jokes that you could imagine all over again. So rock and roll for being a 30, 40-year-old, 12-year-old boy. Yep.
I know exactly what that's like. But yeah, great episode today. Get Valiant 142. We've got 5 books we're going to be reviewing next week, so come back again. As Hoosier said, there's a very good chance that we'll be doing some more free giveaways next week as well. We always enjoy giving back. We'll see if I can find a way to stop being such a Grinch and maybe come up with something to give away as well. We'll figure that out. But definitely want to say thank you to everybody watching, listening, hanging out in the live chat or not. Congratulations to our winners, both Todd and Nick. I'm really glad that Nick was able to come on. And then William.
We haven't had Nick on forever. We were talking Shattered Grid with him back in the day, and we're long past that, but that was awesome.
Oh, go watch that Toys or Shows Who Made Us. They have some Power Ranger stuff that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So awesome. Thanks again, everybody. Hopefully we'll see you back again next week. Signing off, I'm Eric Baumgart.
And I'm Hoosier.
I'm Josh Rathbun.
I hope that you guys all have a great week and
get your Christmas shopping
stay
done.
valiant.